He's been reelected to his third term in Congress, and he joins us now here in the studio, Congressman Brian Babin. Thank you so much for being here with us today. We appreciate you taking the time to stop by.
I'm glad to be with you, Kimberly. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Same to you.
You bet.
And speaking of the new year, you're preparing for your third term and a new session. So we want to start off talking about some of the causes that you specifically want to tackle as you go back to Capitol Hill. What are some of those things?
Well, we're going to have there'll be a new universe. I've served for 2 terms in the majority where the Republicans control the House of Representatives, and now it's going to be a little bit different because the American people have given and elections have consequences, have given the majority to the Democrats. So it'll be a whole new world. We've got to reform health care. We've got to secure our border. We've got to our military. We've got to continue the boom in our economy that has been started in the last couple of years since the Trump administration came in, and we passed some great reform of our tax code. These are all things that we need to be looking at. Infrastructure, that's a huge thing as well. Our crumbling and deteriorating infrastructure in America is costing us jobs. It's costing us our competitive edge in the world today in the global markets. And so these are all things that we need to be working with, and I'm hoping that the new majority under Nancy Pelosi will do that. I'm not getting good vibes from what I'm hearing from the opposing side, though, on the other side of the aisle.
You serve as the chairman of the House Subcommittee on Space.
Yes.
So what do you think about the development of the Space Force? Will your colleagues go for this new military branch in the next session?
I think in some form or fashion we will go for that, because we're looking at historically warfare has always been on the ground, and then all of a sudden we had airplanes.
Yes.
In 1949, I think it was, we created the United States Air Force out of the Army Air Corps. And I think now that our adversaries, the Chinese, the Russians, the Iranians, the North Koreans, they're working on ICBMs. They have extended the domain of warfare up into space. And I think it's incumbent upon us to discontinue having our eyes closed that space is going to be where it's at. Cybersecurity and space are going to be a front for our future wars, and we've got to belly up to the bar and take that responsibility. And I think it's time Space Corps or a Space Force, whether it's an independent branch of the service like the Navy or the Army, or whether it's a corps underneath one of the other services, like the Air Force now has jurisdiction over space. Or maybe we would call it the Space Corps.
What do you think the price tag on developing something like this is going to cost? Because just as the president has run into issues with funding for his border wall, do you think you could possibly run into issues with funding for a Space Force?
Well, I think it's not going to be cheap to do this. Absolutely. But, freedom's not free. And for us to maintain an independent democratic republic of the United States of America that we've all enjoyed for 240, going on 243 years, we have to have a national defense, a military that will never even be touched by our adversaries. We've got to maintain #1 spot without question for us to maintain our freedom. You mentioned the border wall. You want to talk about that?
Let's go ahead and talk about it, because that's part of the reason that we're now seeing this issue with funding and the government shutdown. And when the American people look at that, they say, is there nothing that can be done?
There is something that can be done. We were elected. President Trump was elected. I was elected. Many of us were elected on the issue of securing our border. And let me tell you something. We're all immigrants. We're all children of immigrants. Unless you're a full-blood Native American, American Indian. We're all children of immigrants. And my own daughter, one of my daughters-in-law is a naturalized citizen, an immigrant. Mm-hmm. And so we have to, I appreciate what immigration has done for our country and to make us, such a multifaceted culture that we have. But we have to do it with a law and order and do it in an orderly fashion and do it the right way. We cannot have caravans of thousands and thousands of people who are bum rushing our borders and demanding services and burning the American flag and flying their own nation's flags that they're coming from. Why would you fly your nation's flag if you're trying to get out of there, if you didn't like the place and you're trying to come here to seek asylum? It doesn't make any sense to me. We want American citizens, we want immigrants that will become American citizens and assimilate and appreciate and love America for what it is.